there.
We are friends.
And we're about to have a conversation.
Please don't take us too seriously.
All right, then.
Life is crazy, and the least we can do is talk about it. Conversations with friends. Only on The Podcaster.
Hello, Neerja.
Hi, Ahalya.
You're an adult, aren't you? I asked that very menacingly. You're an adult, aren't you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
What do you have to show for it?
Well, neither of us have a height on our side, so there is that. We definitely don't look like adults.
And we don't feel like adults either.
What is the youngest you've ever passed off for?
Ooh, under 21, because I'm always asked for my ID when I go places.
Ahalya laughs as she points finger.
Has that happened to you?
Never. I've never been ID'd.
You lie.
And I think the one time I got ID'd was literally on my 21st birthday. So I was like, oh, you want to play me? Yeah, no, I ask because it's so difficult to adult. How the fuck do you do it?
I don't know. I don't think you ever really figure it out. But I think being an adult is a state of mind more than anything else. You can become an adult at any age, I believe. I mean, just because you look like an adult if you're, say, 30 or 25 or I don't know, what is the cutoff age for like
old?
Age? Yeah, for old.
Oh,
yeah.
for old, I think it's like way later now because of all the medicines and the life expectancy. Like everything's just increased.
Yeah.
It's fine. We'll live until 100. All of us.
Yay! So you can look at someone who's say 35, 37 years old and go, well, that person is clearly an adult visibly, but like adulthood can be experienced by anybody. So, like you can be like a 14, 15-year-old who was forced to grow up too soon and get a job. So I think there's like a collection of signifiers for people that determine when you start adulting. Like if you move out of your house and you get a job.
You're like, I'm an adult now.
Yeah. That feeling comes with doing certain things. But you never really get the hang of it until you're like, I
think you should stop there. You never really get the hang of it, full stop. No, but like when was the first time you really looked at your life and went, holy shit, I'm an adult now and I just have to do this?
I think it happened when I moved out of my house. For all practical purposes, I did move out, but I was still very dependent on my daddy.
I don't. Ew.
I moved.
Like emotionally?
Yeah, emotionally, financially, everything but whatever is going on in your head.
No,
you dirty girl.
I wasn't even going there.
Yeah, okay. I took us there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I moved to Bangalore, I came here to study. Even then, I kind of still felt like a kid.
Yeah.
And then I realized, wait, after this whole ordeal of like doing an MBA, I'm going to have to start working.
Wait, you have an MBA?
That's right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The more you know.
It means nothing to me. Yeah, I think for me it happened almost overnight. One day I woke up and went, I am going to have to pay my own bills now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to figure out transport for myself. I don't have the, luxury of anything anymore. It's like I've been reborn into the body of an adult.
I think that's always the first rude awakening is finances. Like it's always knowing, holy shit, from now on, if I am able, even like 2% able, I have to take care of myself.
Is that how you feel now though? Do you feel like you're transitioning into adulthood and is it sort of hitting you in the face every day?
Yes, it is slapping me, beating me, punching me,
holding you down and just mauling you.
Yeah, it is just like, take it. Take some more. I haven't moved out yet. Like, I still stay with my parents.
Yeah.
But for me, the first real thing of like adulthood was realizing how involved I get them in my life so reflexively. My mom literally said this the other day as a joke and I went, hey, so funny. I literally laughed like with so much pain in me. Like she was talking about a trip in Goa and she's like, Dad and I never do the touristy things. And I was just like, that's not true. Like we've been
tourists.
Yeah, we've been tourists in new places. She was like, no, we've only always done the tourist things because you were there. And I was like, I was 8. I didn't ask for anything. It's not like I could make any decisions. She was like, yeah, they were all made for you. And I was like, well, okay. And my dad said the same thing. He was like, yeah, when she was a kid, she could never say no to anything. Like, we just take her wherever she wants. But now, and I'm like, now what? I have a say. Like, when I, for example, started, like, you know, towards the later half of college, when I was like 19, 20, people would just go out all the time and like just live their lives. A lot of my classmates were living in PGs and they'd have a fair amount of control over their own time. And then, realizing that, I just have to keep asking for permission. I have to keep doing that thing where it's just like, went out twice a week and now the quota is done. And, when I started dating, like my boyfriend, for example, it became such a thing where I was just like, hey, now this is someone that I really want to spend a lot of time with.
Where's my freedom?
Yeah. I mean, to my parents' credit, see, the thing is, it's new. So you can't just flip a switch and just be like, okay, now I'm going to be out of the house all the time and you just have to deal with it.
Yeah, because you'll always be your parents' child, right?
So for me, the adulthood thing suddenly came up when I was like, why do I reflexively just constantly involve them in every single decision I'm making? Why don't I just make the decision? And it's that confidence thing. I didn't feel like I had the confidence to do that. And then when you make it once or twice and you just inform rather than involve, then it's just like, okay, cool.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Towards adulthood.
Baby steps towards being a big baby.
Yeah.
Oh, she a big baby.
It's funny because the irony of like wanting to grow up when you're a kid and then you're an adult and you're like, why did I even want that? It's not
think
lost
about
on
myself,
anyone, I think.
I think about myself saying that, like, I can't wait to be an adult. And I'm like, you're a dumbass. Like, you are so stupid.
That's harsh.
Yeah. We learned anything from the therapy episode.
So I'm curious to find out what you have to say about this. So you still live with your parents.
Yeah.
And it's just the convenience of it all, isn't it? Because you work in the same city, they live in the same city. You need to make the most of that comfort because once you lose it, then you lose it forever.
Oh my God.
I think at a certain point, even your parents go, it's nice to not have to take care of anybody. I think that's how my parents felt when I left. And then 3 days later, they were crying. But, as all parents go.
But that's so true that you bring that up. It's like I have so many friends, like so many of them are on the side of, now that I've lived alone for a while, I can't ever go back to like living with my parents long term. And then there is the other side that just hates it. They're like, yeah, like I tried it. I'm like, I love living with my family.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like my best friend and I, we had been talking about it a lot, moving out together, just getting an apartment and stuff like that. But you realize very quickly what that means. It means a lot of money out of your bank account every month. And it's like, if you can avoid it, what is your priority? Do you want to save or do you want to be free? Like,
money.
money.
Should we break into like a concert?
Must be funny.
In a rich man's world.
My dad used to say this thing to me always and I never understood it. Now I do. He'd always talk about like finding a balance and how important it is in life to just find a balance. And I know a lot of my friends who like live alone, the only thing that can help them when they feel like absolute shit is going back home.
Yeah, also once you get a taste of that freedom and all the things you thought you were missing out on when you were living with your parents, once you get to a point where you can do pretty much whatever you want to, that gets old pretty quickly.
It does. Like my parents, they went on a trip for 3 days, like just a little getaway. It was the first time I think like I was just alone at home and I was like, oh, I love this. Oh my God. I don't have to tell them that I'm going here and then there. I was such a master of my own time, but then it was just like when they came back, like the house got full again. It was just nice. And I was very honest with them about it. I did tell my mom, and like my mom's super, like sometimes she like really surprised me with how real she is. Yeah. Like she was just like, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to lie to you though. There was just, I felt really free. And she was just like, of course you did. But what to do? I was like, okay, cool.
What do you think is the hardest thing for you as an adult? While you still live with your parents, I'm sure you don't get to enjoy some of the benefits of being like a teenager or a child growing up in the same household because they expect a certain kind of responsibility from you as well. So has anything ever stood out to you as, damn, I'm no longer a child?
Can I be honest with you? Like, I know we started this conversation and I was like, yeah, like, how the fuck do you do it? And it sucks. I think I was made to be an adult, honestly. I quite enjoy it. I know that it gets really difficult sometimes and all of that. I genuinely enjoy it. My parents have always been super real about the fact that, like, you have to go out, you have to get a job, make sure that, you know, you can stand on your own 2 feet. I've been, like, from the minute I graduated college, like a month after that I started working, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I like money. I don't really mind that they hold me accountable in that way and they don't let me behave like a teenager. They do indulge me, like still. My boyfriend gets super annoyed because he lives alone. He doesn't live with his parents, and like my mom will just randomly buy me something online and he'll just be like, my parents never get me anything. This is so unfair. I'm like, okay.
You know, that is so funny that you bring that up because that is exactly what I miss. I mean, obviously, I love being on my own and being able to make my own decisions and have my own thoughts for once and not have somebody else dictate when I can eat like a bar of chocolate. But as you get older, you start having to be more cautious about wanting materialistic things. I mean, of course, that's what being on your own 2 feet is all about, is budgeting for things and, you know, saving for things and wondering if something is really worth the expense. But I guess I just miss being carefree. Growing up, I didn't need to think about these things. Not because, you know, I was a brat and we were super rich, but just because your parents do tend to shelter you from that conversation about money, if you know what I mean. And when they ever said no to buying me something, I always thought it was because they're just trying to discipline me or whatever. But then I became an adult and I realized it's the bloody money.
It's the bloody money.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. And also, you've been living alone for a long time now. How many years? Like,
Yeah, about like 10 years now.
does it make it easier now that you're living with a partner, though?
It does, because you split expenses. Wait, are we talking strictly money-wise or is there emotion involved?
Does it make the adulting less burdensome, I guess?
You know what? Not necessarily, because the thing is...
I'm sure your partner will be happy to hear that.
I love you. I don't know how much of a difference it really makes. I think the only difference living with a partner and living by yourself makes in terms of being an adult is honestly just the money, because everything else you sort
could
of
have done anyway.
Yeah, you fall into a rhythm. I mean, there's perks to both, there's benefits either way, and there's downsides to both. Like if I were living alone, I wouldn't have somebody to come back home to or my pets to come back home to. I would just be like probably polishing off bottles of wine by myself. Now I get to do it with someone.
I also do think there's like such an emotional aspect to becoming an adult in the way that it's adulthood. Like a friend of mine, for example, her parents live in the same city, but they just live super far away from where she's working now. So when she got this new work opportunity, she decided to move in to the flat like that the company was offering. And there she lives alone. And, you know, she was talking about how it felt so good, like to be in charge of her own space and this and that. But on days when it gets difficult, she didn't have anyone to like cry to. She didn't have anyone to just like hug and like not explain herself but just feel better. I can relate to that a lot, because when I have shitty days, like I don't tell my mom anything in that moment. I just go and hug her and I feel better. Or like my dad will just crack some lame joke. I'm like, okay. And I'll be like, fine. And then that got her to thinking like, why do I feel this way now? And she got some advice, which was that, you know, maybe you need to start opening up to people. Maybe that's what you're not realizing, is that when you're a child and you're fortunate enough that your parents are still around and, you know, that they're there for you, be a child with them. Then you can be a child with other people as well. Like, use those spaces, use those relationships the way that they're, you know, that the reason that they're there for. Like you said, you're always going to be your parents' kid. Your parents are always going to be your parents.
Yeah, I think another emotional realization you have when you grow up is that you're suddenly this autonomous person who has all this decision-making power.
Like, now you have to make the right choice. You don't have the excuse anymore of saying, but I was a kid, I didn't know any better.
I mean, you can't blame anybody else for your decisions but yourself. And
So funny.
yeah, because you know you make bad decisions.
Is it me or is it, no, it's you?
That's the thing about being an adult. You can't keep running to your parents anymore because you're essentially becoming them.
I think there's a real beauty to the way those relationships change as well. Like, your parents are always going to be your parents, you're always going to be a kid to them, but your understanding of them as people and not your parents also really evolves. Like, I see my parents now as two adults and not only my parents, and that helps me understand them so much better and be there for them a lot better than I would have when I was a kid.
Even now, if I went back home, my mom would still probably make me like some junk filth that I shouldn't be eating as an adult. But she's just like, but you hardly ever come home. You know, this is what I want to make for you. fucking eat it. You really start to see like the children in them as you get older, and they feel less burdened.
And their responsibility as like
Has come down a lot more.
I like that actually, because then like the older we grow, the bigger our chances of like, you know, sort of lightening the weight on their shoulders is also.
And
not
getting to know them a little better.
Yeah, getting to know them. I mean, these two people literally brought you up, so it's like important that you get to know who did that.
Yeah. Who are these people?
It's great because like the child in you starts to like talk to the child in them, and then the adult in them starts to talk to the adult in you.
Yeah.
And it's like...
It's weird.
It's weird, man.
It really is.
But I would honestly choose being an adult over being a child, would you?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I really enjoyed being a kid, to be honest. I mean, I was left to my own devices quite a bit because we moved around a lot and my parents weren't always home. So they sort of trusted me to, you know, it was that like 90s, I guess 80s mentality of just, you know, let's leave the kid alone and see what happens. And
she ate sand today.
Like literally, I always tell people this story because I feel like it really showed me who my dad was and how he was going to bring me up.
Yeah.
When I lived in Dubai for a bit, my dad would leave for work every morning around 7, and that's when I would go to the pool upstairs to swim. And I didn't have the house key, so he would leave the house, he would come up, throw the house key in the deep end of the pool and be like, this is the only way you can get home. Get the key. I'm leaving. Bye. I mean, my mom, I think, was more freaked out about doing things like that. But my parents, for the most part, have always been like a life will teach you the lessons, and we are just here to put you in those situations. So, yeah, I think I miss that.
I was just thinking to myself, and I was like, how sad is it that I've never actually truly ever felt like a child? Like, I've never, I don't know why, maybe it's just sometimes it's just how you're born and it's who you are, but I've never ever felt that kind of like unbridled freedom before. I was always anxious as a kid. Right now, which is why I don't find adulting that difficult. It's just like fun to complain about it sometimes. For the most part, it's quite familiar. I'm like, yep, slap me in the face. It's fine.
Being an adult is so different now than before.
It was before.
Yeah, because back then it was more predictable. You get married, you start a family, you get a job, you provide, you protect, all of that. And then you raise kids who may or may not turn out to be fucked up.
And have their own podcast and complain and whine. So grateful to have had these children.
Can we get a time machine, please, God?
Is there a return policy? I'm sure they felt that way about us at some point.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've watched the new movie Do Revenge. I have many opinions, but the one thing I liked about it was that vice principal who was just like, you know what, leave figuring it out, just be lost as much as you can. And I honestly think things get less and less clear the older you grow. But at the same time, for some reason, that just gives you a lot of like clarity and solace inside. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
You accept that you're lost, and that way you will never be hard on yourself because you know.
Okay, calm down.
This is what life is.
Calm down. You will never be hard on yourself. Do you know who you're talking to?
This is, I mean, listen to these words, Ahalya. Being lost really means being free, I think.
Bro, put it on a poster, hang it on a wall. Yeah, it's true.
That's the best part about being an adult is there's really no point in trying to figure things out anymore. So you're off the hook. Don't even try.
Just don't. Listen to conversations with friends and get even more confused. So I guess you want to go back to being a child. I'm good with adulting, and that's where we're at right now. I hope you get to go back to being a child.
Yeah, I'd like
to. You can keep the child in you alive.
It certainly is. I think the child in me is thriving every day. In fact, the adult
you used to polish wine bottles when you were a kid? That's a lot of freedom.
I mean, no, not wine bottles.
Milk bottle.
When my dad would have a beer or two, I have taken a couple of sips.
Ooh la la, getting spicy. Well, there you go.
Not recommending this to any children out there, by the way.
Please don't. Also, why are you listening to us?
Yeah.
This is Conversations with Friends.
It's only for adults.
Yeah. All the best, guys.
This has been a Conversations with Friends on the Podcaster. Powered by Timber Media.